You're on a Harley-Davidson bagger, headed up a steep mountain pass. There's a truck up ahead that you got to get around, plus 3 more cars ahead of him. This is when you need big power and massive torque. The Aerocharger system is now available for Harley-Davidson touring models. Experience turbo performance with no lag, made possible by variable vane technology. The reliable 53 series Aerocharger drops big power right on top of the bike's stock power band. We're talking about smooth, reliable boost, no dangerous surges or jolts under throttle, and a self-lubricating bearing system boosts efficiency without adding extra heat to the engine's oil. Join us now as we modify a stock Street Glide with an Aerocharger turbo system for maximum performance.
Hey everybody, I'm Calvin with Aerocharger. Today we're going to be doing the Harley install video. There's been Aerochargers on Harleys for years now. There's lots of them out on the market. A lot of you guys probably seen them on them. It's a real simple kit. It's a variable vane, self-contained turbo, so it's really clean. It's super simple to install. So I guess we'll get started. As you can see, we already did get started. We've ripped the bike down quite a bit. Mainly just got it down to bare bones. Got the gas tank off, the seat, the side bags, the side panels, and the exhaust are the main things. So once you get your bike to this position, we'll start with the next step. So before we install our new header, just for ease of installation of it, we're going to remove this lower header mount. 2 1/4-inch Allen bolts are holding it. Set that aside for now. You want to take these C-clamps off of your stock header and put them on this. They will retain your header flanges. Now that we got our circlips mounted, we will raise the header up into place. You want to get your front header up in there first. Slide the rear one in. Now that we got the header loosely mounted up there, we'll mount this lower header bracket. So now that we got our header loosely mounted up, we're going to mount the turbo support bracket. This is what it looks like. It's going to go underneath here like so. For now, we'll loosely mount this as well. The next step is going to be prepping our turbo for installation. This is your vent. We'll leave it. We'll take a 3/16 Allen wrench, take your plug out. Now your turbo came from the factory with a 5.5 pound spring in it already. We're going to leave that setting. I've already put the oil in, but on this turbo you will take the entire bottle and squeeze it in. Put all the oil out of your bottle into the turbo, put your plug back in, put some red Loctite on there, and just snug it up with your 3/16 Allen wrench. Put your filter on it and you're ready for installation. Now that we have the turbo prepped, we're going to take the metal gasket, grab one of the shorter bolts from the kit. We'll loosely mount this turbo up to our header. We're just going to snug it up for now. We'll come back later and tighten all this up. Next, we're going to mount up our heat shield with our flange here. That'll mount our after muffler. Make sure you tighten the 4 bolts on our exhaust flange. Then we'll raise our after muffler up into place. So now that we got mounted up here, note that this little bracket slides back and forth. Got our rubber mounts mounted up to the after muffler. Put our nuts on there, and then we'll tighten them down. So now we're going to install our crankcase vent tube. Plug this guy into these. And then we're going to route it along the frame here, down underneath this stuff, and down towards the swing arm. We're going to take this 3/16-inch hose here. We're going to use this for our manifold pressure. We're going to use it for electronics. If you're going to use a boost gauge, you'll use it. We'll tee into it here as well for that. Next, we're going to install the turbo air box. Make sure you don't over tighten these bolts. They're small bolt. You just want to snug them up. Make sure they're evenly tightened between the 3 of them. If you're doing the non-intercooled version, this is the time where you're going to install your charge tube. Keep a note that we will be running a boost line to your blow-off valve a little later. It goes in there like this. The boost line in and towards the front of the vehicle. Next step on the intercooled kit is to install the intercooler. As you can see, this is one of our testers. It's a little scratched up. Yours will be a little bit nicer than this one, but same install. Just installing this front upper bolt. Help me hold it. I'll come back here. Don't forget your rubber wrap on your chrome. Always use Loctite on all your bolts. That way you don't have any issues later on. Make sure you tighten all 4 bolts, and then we'll be done with the install on the intercooler. So now that we got the intercooler installed, we'll install the charge tube that has the blow off in it. Goes over the top, like so, and it's going up to your air box. Next, we're going to install the charge tube that goes from the intercooler to the turbo. So it comes up like so. Get it on there. Push your clamps up and tighten them down. With the added power that we're going to add, we're going to need more fuel. So we're going to have to take out the stock injectors and install some bigger injectors that will be included in your kit. Take a 27 Torx, move this one Torx bolt here. So we got the bolt out of there, then plug the injectors. We'll just want to squeeze on the sides here and it will release them. Kind of give it a wiggle and a tug. It should come right out. So now you're going to take your injector out. Same thing, just give it a wiggle, it'll come out, you'll get some gas on you. We already have the larger injectors installed. At this point, you will grab the bigger injector out of your kit, install it just the way that they were with the plug-in going out and up. Keep in mind, it's always good to put some grease or some silicone on your O-rings before installing them, just so you don't tear them and they have some lube. So now that we got the new injectors in there, the bigger ones from the kit, we will reinstall this, set it down in there. Be very careful, we don't want to damage anything. Make sure you put your lube on there before you did that. We'll leave the injectors unplugged for now because we'll be piggybacking into them with our fueling system. The last part is just to reinstall your bolt. Make sure you get it tight. And we'll be back in a few minutes here to plug in our piggyback system. Next, we're going to install your gauges. They're optional. Not all the guys want to run them. I think it's a good idea just so you know what's going on. There's a lot of different style of gauges, but we're going to show you what we have. This one mounts to the front side. It replaces your stock cap for your brake handle. So first we'll mount the gauge up and then we'll route the boost line. So now that we got that mounted up, we'll run our boost line. As you can see, we took a screw out of each side on this cowling, which allows it to flex down. We'll route it down in here. Be very careful with your routing. We don't want to pinch this line or rub it to where there's going to be a hole in there later. We can't chafe it. It's very critical. Run this along here. We're going to drop down T into this, which we talked about earlier is where we're going to get our manifold pressure. The stainless steel boost line's coming from our blow-off valve. We have a T in it with 2 hoses coming off. We're going to route this up under the seat here. The shorter one I'm going to run to our map sensor. That we'll install later with our fuel controller. And the long one I'm going to route up and hook into the line that we just ran back, which is going to our boost gauge and our manifold. Tuck them up in here. Make sure I get both of them through. Next, we'll install the air fuel ratio gauge. You can put it on either side of the handlebar or wherever you want it. We're going to mount it here for this demonstration. Don't forget to always use Loctite on your bolts. We don't have anything rattling apart. So now we'll route the plug-in for the air fuel sensor, which will go to the back of your pipe there, your after pipe, and then this is just your power plug-in. We'll route it just like we did the boost gauge on the other side. Tuck it in like so. I've already routed the power wire. Follow it back. You can see we tapped into the power here. As a plug-in, we'll plug right in. We routed it down, around, and up for power. Next, we're going to run the wire back for our air fuel sensor. You're going to have lots of excess wire. So we'll plug this guy in up here. As you can see, we zip tied it up real tight. Found a spot to kind of hide it down in there. We'll put some zip ties along here in a bit. Make sure stuff's going to stay in place and not rub anywhere. So now we're going to insert the sensor and route the plug-in up to our plug-in we just routed. It's a 7/8 inch wrench, or crescent will work. I'm going to route it up along the frame here. We'll zip tie it here in a bit to the frame. Tuck our plug-in up and under this wire harness. Plug her in. Next, we're going to install our fuel commander. We're going to set most of the wires and everything kind of in the middle of the bike. We're going to grab this wire here coming out of there. The 4 plug-ins, they go to our injectors. We'll route it up the wiring harness down the right-hand side of the bike. So now we got our 4 plug-ins. Doesn't matter which way they go. Make sure you get your rear injector plugged in with the one that you plug in the rear, and vice versa on the front. So we'll go ahead and plug these guys in. You'll see that we only have 2 plug-ins left. One's not really a plug-in, it's just your ground, and then the plug-in for your map sensor. We'll do the ground first. We're going to ground directly to the battery ground here. Slide it on there. Make sure you don't disconnect any of the other grounds that are on the stock vehicle. Plug this end into our map sensor. Take the other boost line that we had previously routed up in here from the T off the blow-off valve. Plug it into our map sensor. Zip ties are important. There's a million different ways to route it and zip tie them up. Just make sure you do it as clean as you possibly can. Get them tucked away to where they're not going to rub on anything or get pinched anywhere. That's it for the turbo install. Make sure you go through everything. Make sure everything's zip tied up nice and cleanly. All your hoses are not going to get pinched or cut. And you're ready for the final assembly, which is just putting on the stock parts that we took off in the beginning. Gas tank, seat, bags, stuff like that. And finally, for the finishing touch, we're going to put our little airbox cap on. Ours is blank. Feel free to customize it. So that's it for the Harley install. Hopefully it was simple for you guys. If not, feel free to give us a call at Aerocharger. Look us up at aerocharger.com. Ride safe. Thanks for buying the kit.